Hey everybody, it's Jesse, and I haven't streamed in a while. Had a holiday yesterday, 4th of July here in the U.S., and the day before that, my boss got married, so I took the day off and went to his wedding. So it's been since last week. We um, we did some like design work on what was it Friday. We had the last stream, and actually, let me show you. Let me show you what I kind of settled on for the moment, just to let you know how it went. So, uh, if you remember, we were going with like a really short section, and at the very end of the stream, it was a long stream, so I don't know how many people stuck around for the end. But at the very end, someone mentioned that it looks like an old school WordPress header. And then I made up my mind that I had to change it because I couldn't have that. So I left it a little bit bigger than normal and kept a lot of the same. I kept it basically same as it originally was, shrunk it a little bit, adjusted line heights, and made this a bit bigger, made the font a bit bigger, increased the font weight. So all the changes are much more minor than what we had originally done on Friday. So this is what I'm going with for now. Of course, I'll have to see what everyone else that's involved in the project thinks about that, but that's it for now. The only other changes I made since Friday are I took out this. There was a contact form section here. I took that out. I got an email this morning saying that they didn't want that in there. And there's some other sections that are going to be taken out and rearranged here. But other than that, the home page is pretty much finished. I think I'm going to get different images for these sections, and that's I'll just see whatever images I'm given for that, and hopefully they all can work with these dimensions. But today we're going to work on the resource section. Specifically, we're going to work on sorting. So we might do a little bit of UI work here because we're going to need to add some toggles and a drop down maybe. But the most important thing is getting the sorting to work so that users can pick a category. They can toggle whether they want the free or the paid resources. This obviously already works. And then they could even search within that. So they can just really narrow down on exactly what they want. So I'm streaming from home again. So if you've joined in before when I've streamed from home, the quality isn't always great, but I had to work from home again today. So let me know if anything is really, really off. The setting, I left the same settings as I had on Friday, and it seemed okay on Friday. The video quality is not HD, which that kind of stinks. I would rather it be HD, but at least the buffering wasn't too bad on Friday. But let me know if it gets bad. There's not really that much I can do about it, but maybe I can change some settings here. I'm going to go to the live chat just quickly and say hello before we get started. Sorry, I don't have everything set up as much as I normally do. I just concluded an interview, a phone interview with a candidate. So that ended just a few minutes before the stream. Hey everyone. Oh, hey Bill. Bill hasn't been able to catch a stream in a while, so I'm glad you could watch this one. Hey Fabian, how's it going? Yeah, I haven't seen you in the stream for a while. It's good to see you. Yeah, the GitHub. Surav asks about the GitHub link. So the link for the GitHub repo for this project is in the description. There's not exactly a tutorial to follow, but if you check the videos, I actually started this website, I think, on my own channel. So I think there's like 2 streams that are on my YouTube channel, and that's linked in the description. And then I got invited to stream for freeCodeCamp, so I switched everything over to them. So it's a lot of content. Some of the streams are pretty long, but if you went through them, it would be somewhat of a tutorial, but not comprehensive at all. The goal of this show, in case you're joining for the first time, is just to watch me, work with me as I do my normal everyday thing. So there's a lot of things that I work on for this project that I don't record. So that's why you won't get exactly, a comprehensive tutorial, but I try to title all the videos accurately in terms of what I'm doing. So there are some aspects of what we're doing that are tutorial like, and you probably get a good idea of how to do it, but no, not really any official tutorials yet. Yeah, it is. Someone asked about the resolution. It's 480p right now. That's basically my upload right now is below 5 megabits per second. So I can't consistently stream at a high enough bit rate to get 720p. So I dropped it down to 480 because if I try to do 720, I can't sustain it and there's lots of buffering. 480p seems to be the max I can get on my home network. So yeah, I know a couple people are saying they don't like the 480p. I watched the recording of the last video and I really couldn't stand the 480, but I figure I guess it's better to just do a stream than to not do one because I don't know when I'm going to be able to get back into the office. So I might be doing a bunch of streams from home, and I don't want to be away from you all for that long of a period of time. I don't know about you, but I've have gotten used to interacting with you all, 4, sometimes 5 times a week, and I start to miss you when I don't stream for a while. So I thought it would be good to just do the stream. And all right, so we have, it looks like, yeah, we have a really good amount of viewers today, actually more than normal. So we're up to over 90 viewers, so that's great. So I don't want to leave everyone hanging with introductions. Let's get to it. Just to explain, in case you haven't seen what we're doing here, we're pulling in, these are resources. This section is going to undergo a big kind of design update here. Not on this video, but it will soon, probably sometime this week. So what we're going to do, or what we are doing, is we're pulling in data, JSON data, from WordPress via the WordPress API. So all these resources are added in by someone else who handles the content into the WordPress backend. We pull it in here to this site, which is a React site. So that's what we're going to be sorting through. We're going to get in JSON data, and then we're going to be adding in filters, and we're going to include some sorting. I don't have anything in the UI right now that really would sort things, so we're going to have to add some elements in for that as well. But we want to be able to filter that data by category, so there'll be a drop down with a bunch of categories. We want to be able to filter whether it's free, a free resource, or a paid resource, and there'll be a toggle for that. The search is already working. These already work, but we may change exactly how these interact. So we'll see once we get into it whether we need a change. So that's the plan. And I'm not going to worry as much about the UI yet and the design yet, because I think the sorting and filtering is the most important part. And if I get that down and I get it working, then I can fine-tune the design aspects of it later on. So right now, I was working, I think I'm going to switch to another branch. So if you're following along on GitHub, let me pull this over just really quickly and show you what we're working on, what branch we're working on. I'll make this bigger. I'm going to have to make everything extra big, I think, just to make up for the low-res video. So everything that we did on Friday and that I've done since then is on the Home Alt branch. So if you're checking on GitHub, you need to switch to that branch to see it. For these resources, I think I'm going to make a new branch for this. And And if you're not familiar with Git or GitHub, a branch is just like an alternate version of your project. And you can switch to that branch, make any changes you want, and then switch back to the original branch, and everything's still in the same condition you left it. So it's nice to be able to add new features. And if you need to switch back to the main branch and make a quick fix on something that came up, you can do that. And then push that up to production. That can be live, and then you can just switch right back to your feature branch and work on that until it's ready to go. So it's super useful. I've gone in some previous videos in more depth into Git, but I haven't done a tutorial yet. I hope to do so soon. But there are a lot of great Git tutorials out there. Even on this channel, on freeCodeCamp, there's a whole playlist about using Git and GitHub. So if you want to learn more about it, I recommend checking that out. So I'm just going to check just to make sure I don't have anything. Okay, so this branch is clean. I'm just going to push it up to GitHub just so that I have it in case I need to work from a different computer, and so that you all can see all the changes as well. And let's change. I think I'm going to name this branch resource sorting. I guess that works. So we're going to git branch. It's just this easy. If you haven't done this before in GitHub or with Git, I mean, it's super easy. Just git branch and then type the name of the branch that you want to create. And actually, let me go. I'm going to go back to the master branch first. I'm not really sure. I'm sure you all probably know this, but I didn't want to get a copy of the home alt branch and start from that. I wanted to start from master. So I didn't know if that would make a difference as to what branch I was in, but just in case, I do want to make a copy of the master branch to start with this. So I know we're going to be doing more than sorting, but this will be a decent name. I'll be able to remember it. So now if we go git branch, it'll list all our branches. So we have resource sorting. So now we can go to that. So we git checkout. And there are shortcuts for like pretty much every command you want to do in Git, so you don't always have to type all this out. There we go. Now we're on our own branch. So now I can do anything on this branch and it won't mess up anything else we're doing on any other branches. Alright, so let's go over to our code. And we'll go into resources. Let me make this a bit bigger. Okay, let me know if it needs to be bigger than that. I'll show you what's going on just in case you haven't seen any of the videos where we worked on this. I mean, we're importing just some basic layout components. Our resources are all in cards, and that's a separate component, but this is going to undergo a major change, so we're going to leave it for now, but that will definitely change. We're importing. We've extracted, and not me actually. I'm trying to think who did it. I think it was Patrick who submitted a pull request that took all of our fetch, our functions that we're using to fetch data, and put it into its own component. So that's out of here. It cleans things up a little bit, and we don't have to include the same things in every page. So that's nice. And then we had gotten masonry working before. This is kind of sad for me because if you remember, that was a really kind of a long stream when we tried to get masonry working. And now I don't even think I'm going to need it for the page. So sad about that, but I will definitely be using it in future sites. So it will not be a waste of effort. All right, so basically all we're doing is, we've set up our state. We have a place for our data to live here in our state. And we get our initial request here. And we're using Next.js to kind of scaffold out our React app. And in Next.js, if you want to render on the if you want to make the API call on the server side to be able to render that into the HTML and then send it to the client on that first load, you have to do it inside get initial props. And of course, that saves it to props. So we have to transfer that then to the state. So that's all we're doing here. So this thing here is just fetching the data, and it does it isomorphically. So this would actually take care of fetching it on the server side. And then if you went there, we're using client-side routing. So if they navigated to this page using the client-side routing, then it would also work as well. So we're just transferring that from props to state. And we want to transfer that to state because we want React to be able to re-render every time the state changes. And that's going to be key for our sorting, because every time we sort or filter anything, all we're going to do is change how these things are set up in state, and then React is automatically going to know. And I know most of you know this already, but just in case there's some people that aren't familiar with React, I'm kind of going through it. React is going to know about the change, and it's going to re-render everything. Okay, so that's great. If you've done anything like with trying to set up maybe like a single page app with jQuery or something, you know, it's crazy to have all these event listeners and everything. So we don't even worry about that. Everything is nice and contained in state. React takes care of so much of that. So here's where we actually get to some of the stuff. You know, we're already doing some. Actually, it's not on this page. I was thinking we were doing some filtering on this page, but it was on the events page. So that's where we've done it. So we may actually just copy some code from the events page as well. And I'll bring that up right now because we're definitely going to want to copy some stuff from that page. So here's what we're doing. So we bring in our data, and we can set filters on the data right away. And that's key. You want to filter before you do sorting or mapping or anything, because then you'll have a smaller set of data for everything to have to be put through after that. So in this case, we right away just filter out any events that have already happened, that had a date previous to today's date. And then after that, we map the events into, you know, basically our React components. Okay? And I'm not doing any sorting here. Oh yeah, I am. I didn't remember this because somebody else actually did this as well. I think it was Patrick as well. If I'm giving credit to the wrong person, let me know. But I thought it was Patrick that submitted this pull request, where it's actually using a sort for our sorting by distance. Okay, so that's our basic things that we're going to use here. Mainly filter and sort. And then when we're all filtered and sorted how we want it, then we use map to just iterate over all those things and put them into, you know, the components that we need to get them rendered on the page. And then everything is going to be set into state to trigger the re-render. All right, so I'm going to go back to, if I lost you in the live chat or you have any questions, throw them in there right now. I'll check it very quickly before I start actually coding stuff. I just don't want to lose anybody, you know, this early on. Okay, great. It looks like the video is decent. Some people are saying they can read it. It's decent quality. Ahmed says it's kind of cute that I said I don't want to be away from you all. I know it's true. I've been pleasantly surprised at the community that's kind of been built up around this. So I really feel like I always did my work alone. I was a freelancer. I basically worked alone from my house, and now where I work, I'm basically alone in what I do. There's one other guy that does some web-related, like web development stuff, but we always work on different projects. So I'm just kind of alone in my office most of the time. I mean, there are days when I come in early, I don't see anybody, and I don't see anybody all day. I'll come out of the office to go home later on, and my coworkers will say, "Oh, I didn't even know you're here." So it's really, really cool and unique for me to have this whole community of people, and we're all like working together, um, on these projects. So it's been amazing. I didn't think anybody would even be interested in this when I started doing it. So this has all been a very wonderful surprise for me. Uh, so anyway, enough of the sappy stuff. I do appreciate you all. So thank you. Um, hello. I got a lot of people saying hello. Hey everyone. Okay, Bill says I like to use git checkout hyphen b this with the flag b and then branch name to create a new branch and immediately check it out so I don't accidentally start working on my master branch. That's a great idea. So I'm just going to throw this command up just so that everyone can see it, even if you can't see the live chat now or if you're watching later on. I'm going to throw this command up here. So Bill's saying if you do checkout, so it would be git checkout, which I didn't copy the git part. So if you type git checkout and then you have this flag B and then type your branch name, you'll automatically move to that branch. And that Bill says you don't accidentally start working on master branch. So awesome. I'm going to try to remember that for myself as well because I can see that being really, really useful. So thank you for that. Oh, okay. Someone says they want it just a little bit bigger. So let's go up. I'll go up a little bit more. I think if I go too big, I think it's just going to be hard to see enough of the code to really know what's going on. So if you really need it to be bigger, let me know. I can try to go bigger, but I think we're getting to the point now where it's kind of at our limit of what's reasonable. Uh, Nanten has a question. How come you're using WordPress as a database instead of MongoDB? Um, Bill has a good answer to that, and I'll just give just a brief answer in case you can't see the live chat. Um, WordPress is very easy for people who don't know how to code to edit things in WordPress. So WordPress is my content management system because there's going to be different people, a lot of like student workers that are going to be entering data, and they're going to have varying levels of experience with just websites in general at all. So I needed it to be as user friendly as possible, as simple as possible, and I know that WordPress is very simple to use. So that's why I went with WordPress. I would like at some point to be able to find an alternative that's just as easy to use that I could use instead of WordPress because WordPress can be resource heavy at times. I'd love to be able to find something that's written in with Node instead of PHP, and then I just wouldn't have to worry about PHP at all. But until that time, WordPress is my go-to for content management systems if I need it, even just to pull data into a React site or an app or something. I still think it's one of the most user-friendly options available, and it's stable. There's a huge community. There's constantly security releases coming out, so I can be confident that it's going to work, and it's going to be pretty reliable. So that's why I've been using WordPress. Bill asks about Keystone JS, if anyone's used it. I've tried Keystone, but I tried a bunch of new CMSs all at the same time, so I can't even remember exactly what was unique about Keystone, but I'll have to try it out again. Okay, so it seems as if the code is okay to read, but the folders are small. Yeah, there's no, at least to my knowledge, I'm using Atom as my editor. There's no easy shortcut way for me to make this text bigger. I can make this text bigger just with a simple like Command plus, but it doesn't work when I try to do it over here. So for now, the folders are as they are. If there's something over here that I really think you should see, maybe I can try to zoom in, or I'll just read it out. But for now, the folders will be pretty hard to read. Okay, so it looks like I've gotten through any questions that anybody had. Oh, okay. One more question just popped up. So Andre asks, "Are you blocking your WordPress front end from visitors somehow?" And the answer is not yet. So I think I had mentioned a long time ago that the intention I had was to block people from going to the WordPress site, which I normally do when I have a setup like this. But I've been so busy with other things with this site, I haven't done it yet. Part of the reason is I don't think it's on a subdomain and most people won't go to it. The only thing I would be worried about potentially is I don't want that to get indexed by search engines ever. There's no links to it anywhere, so the odds of that happening are probably low, but still, um, I am going to block it. And basically, the easiest way that I've found to block it is to just go into your templates, your WordPress templates, and just take everything out, because that's what renders everything. It would be like, going into React and just taking this index. It's basically as simple as find the equivalent of index.js for WordPress, which would be a PHP file, and just pull everything out. Just um, like literally delete everything from that file, save it, and then when a user tries to go to that site, they'll see a blank screen. I have done in the past on test sites, instead of removing everything and leaving it, I've removed everything and then added a full screen YouTube embed of the Rick Astley song. So I rickroll everybody that tries to get to my site. But I can't do that on official university websites. But if you ever find one of my test WordPress installations, then you may see that. Yeah, someone asked about the quality again. I'm really sorry about the quality. I wish I have the best internet I can possibly buy right now at my house, and it's still not great. So I hope I can get better one day. I'm limited to this right now. So let's get to let's just pick what we want to do at first. I think the easiest thing to do right now will probably be the toggle for whether the resource is free or paid. That way we don't have to come up with any like pretend category names or anything like that. Uh, I already have data in the JSON file that tells me whether it's free or paid, but I'm currently not pulling in the names of categories. So to save us from having to go in and make all this, fake data just to get this to work, we'll go with the toggle at first. So I'm going to pull up, we have been using Materialize. So we're using Material Design. We're kind of basing everything off of that, but in particular, we're using the Materialize framework to try to help get a jump start on all of our UI stuff. So we're going to grab the code for a toggle. And let's see. There we go. Switches. I guess they're calling them switches here. I was calling them toggles. So basically, I want something like this. But instead of on-off, it's going to say free and paid. Obviously, we'll have a different color as well. But that's basically it. This is what we need. So really simple. We'll just copy that. And we'll put that into our page. Let's see. This is where I want to find where we have the search bar, because I want it right to the left of the search bar. So this is higher up in the page. This is the middle section. Here we go. This file, this React component is getting a lot bigger than I normally like components to be, so it may need to be cut down and broken up a bit into other components. But for now, we'll work with it as is. All right, so here's our tabs. So above that is our search input, and right now we can just use the regular column classes to align this. So this input field is taking up half of the screen, and we're offsetting it by half. So on a medium screen, it takes up 6 out of 12 columns, and we've offset it by 6 columns, and that's how we got it to be aligned to the right instead of, normally it would be aligned left by default. So we're going to want to align. Now actually, there's a plugin now to where I don't even have to type class name, so this will work. But normally without that plugin, you have to type in class name instead of class if you're using JSX. So I'm going to do class column, and we want to do, I think we can get away with an S2 because this is going to be a small input, or I'm sorry, M. I'm not going to worry about the small screens yet. It probably doesn't warrant having an entire row on its own, but maybe. But for now, we'll just have the whole full width on small, and then on medium screens, we're going to make it 2, and then we want to offset this by 4. That's all we really have left, right? So we had 6. This is going to take up 2, so we only have 4 left. So we're going to offset that 4. So and this column system is all from the Materialize framework. So we're just following that. I haven't customized it in any way. So within that is where we can put our switch. Now the nice thing about having the plugin, and once again this was something that I didn't do myself, someone else did on a pull request, and now I've had so many of you help on this, I'm starting to forget who did what. So I apologize that I can't remember for sure who added the. I'll show you what it is here in our package JSON. It's this React HTML attributes, ATTRS. So this lets you just write normal HTML without having to worry about using like class name instead of class and HTML4 instead of just 4. So that's really useful if you have to copy and paste chunks of HTML. Otherwise, if you've been using React, you're probably used to just typing class or class name anyway. So it's probably not a big deal, but it definitely helps for copying and pasting. So we're going to change our labels. Free and then paid. And that should be all. It should be it. I think that it'll give us what we want. So let's check it out. I'll move this off the screen because we won't need this anymore. And if you wanted to learn more, I have up the MDN documentation for sort, which we're going to end up using. I don't know if we'll get to it today. I don't want the video to be really, really long, but we'll see. But in any case, if you're interested, especially if we don't get to it, check out this. I mean, you just find it in MDN. Just search for sort. And there's a lot of good info. I mean, this really is kind of, I like this page. Occasionally the MDN pages will be just like, it's too much for me. Like I can't figure it out. I have to read it several times. But this in particular seemed to be pretty straightforward and easy to understand. Oh, we didn't close our input tag. Alright, I love when we get errors live because then it's like a good learning moment. So in the input tag, we have to close it. And I'm sure someone said it already in the live chat. You all always catch my mistakes before I do. So everything has to be closed out in JSX, which is like the React version of HTML. So let's close it out and it should work. There we go. Alright, so check it out. We have this little switch here. It works. So obviously I wouldn't leave it up here like that and I would change the color, but for now I'm not worried about that. I just wanted the switch. So based on what the switch is, we're going to do some filtering. I'm going to check the live chat quickly just to make sure I don't get too far behind. I've found it's usually been my custom in the past to wait till the end to answer questions in the live chat, but we've been having so much activity in the live chat that it actually starts to just cut off all the stuff from the beginning. So I have to kind of go back now periodically, or else I will miss your questions, and I have no way to get them back. So that's why I'm trying to check it more often than normal now. Okay. In regard to Keystone JS, which is an alternative content management system to WordPress, Bill said it appealed to him because it was with Node and Mongo. That's okay. Now I remember that one. That's why it appealed to me as well. I'm definitely going to check out Keystone. Obviously, I'm not going to use it for this project because it's already so far advanced. But I have some smaller projects and some really big projects that are going to happen within the next year or two. And if I can find an alternative to WordPress that's suitable, I'm definitely interested in using it. Oh, Bill says Rickroll. The Rickroll front end is hilarious. Yeah, it was pretty funny. I mean, I don't even know if anybody ever saw it, but it was funny for me. Oh, Rohan says I could use the robots.txt file to block. That's actually a good idea. I can't believe I hadn't thought of it. I'm also gonna probably pull out everything in the PHP template files as well, just to be safe. But um, that's also a good idea. Okay, it looks like there's some discussion in the live chat about Keystone JS. So just for time, I'm going to skip over the discussion, but it seems really promising, so check it out if you're interested. Oh, cool. Patrick has included a link to be able to change the text size for the UI. In particular, the things over here that you all had mentioned that it's really hard to read, these file names. So awesome. Thank you, Patrick. I'm going to copy this now so it doesn't get lost in the chat, and I'll check that out. So I'm going to add this just to my page of random stuff here. There we go. So Good Looks McGee says taxation is theft. All right, not sure what that has to do. I don't think I said anything relating to that, but yeah, I don't like taxes either. So, I mean, I guess we need them, but I'd rather not have to pay them, right? Um, One Black Dead says, "Do you stream regularly?" I do stream regularly. My schedule's been a little weird the last like 2 weeks because I was on vacation and then there was a holiday and I took days off. So normally I stream at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. Although the times sometimes have to change depending on what's going on. And then occasionally I just have to cancel completely for a day. But that's my normal time. Okay, now let's go back. And now that we have our UI element in there, we can grab this value, which actually we don't even need the value first. We can test it out just kind of manually and then hook up this checkbox. And that's all it is. This is just a checkbox. It's a normal checkbox. You get the value like you would normally do for a checkbox. It doesn't look like a regular checkbox. Actually, I forgot to check. I don't know if anyone's familiar with the Materialize framework. I assume that this is not using any JavaScript to accomplish the styling for this checkbox switch here. If it is, though, that's going to be a problem when we go to do the server side. I don't think it. I didn't have to initialize this at all, so I'm hoping it doesn't use JavaScript and it's just plain CSS. I suppose we'll find out at some point. If that's the case, we'll have to redo that because I want to do it, right within the React component and not rely on jQuery, which is what is used for most of the materialized JavaScript. All right, so let's go up here and figure out where we're going to do this sorting. So I guess it doesn't matter. We'll just put it here in another function. I want to put it above the just for organization purposes. Where do I want to put it? Sorry. It's not a hard question. I guess I'll just put it here at the bottom, right above the render function. I guess that'll be fine. All right, so we'll go free price toggle. That works. That explains what this does. I'm gonna make this. Oops. I'm gonna use an arrow function for this, and then that way this, in terms of like the JavaScript, this will be bound correctly, just in case I need it. So if you're not familiar with arrow functions, I've explained it a couple times already, so I'm going to skip over it for those of you that already heard my explanation several times. But so you can either check out a previous video, or there's so much information about arrow functions online and why they're good, especially in particular to use within React. I think the React documentation itself explains this. All right, so within this, we want to get. I want to see what I called. Okay, so we just called it data within state. So we want to do this dot set state. Okay, so we're going to set the state, and as some of you in the live stream informed me maybe a few weeks ago, and made sure to inform me, we never want to directly modify state. We always want to use this set state function. Otherwise, React won't know about the change, and you won't get that re-render that you want. So we want to change it within here. Okay, so we're using this set state, and we want to take data. Oops. So we want to change what data is. And then within there, what we want to do, I might have to bring up the actual JSON data because I don't remember what I called the field. But basically, what we want to do is filter. So we want to take this state dot data, and then we're going to filter and I am actually going to have to look this up now because I will need to know what we're getting, and I could probably too speed this up by copying. If you remember, I said I'd already done some filtering. Where am I at? In events. So I probably could have just copied. Yeah, I mean, I don't need it to be this, do this much, but basically that's all we need. Yeah, there's not even any point in copying that. But I do need to get the data. So let me grab, if you see up here where we're initially getting the data, I'm just going to get this, because this will give us most likely the contents of what data is going to be. So I'll go over here and we'll go to WP, and we want JSON. I know that that's probably really small here, but I'll increase the size on the actual JSON data. All right, so this is how it comes. This is our data. So here we go. Price. Well, that makes sense. At least I named it something reasonable. I couldn't remember it, but it makes sense. So I think the options are either free or paid. So it looks like I don't see anything paid right now, but I'm pretty sure the options are free or paid. So we just need what? Data, ACF, price. Okay. So what we want to do within our filter, we want to filter only if we're going to have to do a bit more to this, but for now this will just give us the first step here. So data, actually I don't need, sorry. Okay, that's it. I was wondering what, I'm just calling it post. Sorry, just checking it, trying to look back at what I did earlier. So I guess state data. Oh, okay. Actually, I need to go to live chat for a second because Fabian has a good point here, and Fabian has helped a lot in making this project much better than it would have been if it would just been me working on it. So when he says something, I always pay attention. So his advice is I wouldn't change data state, but use the render function to display a filtered view of data instead by saving price filter parameter in state. Okay. All right, I'm gonna think about it. Weigh in the live chat if anyone else has an opinion on that, because that seems like a good idea to me. But if we're going to talk about changing how I'm going to do this, then I might as well open it up to discussion. So if anyone has any opinions, so basically what we're talking about is instead of changing data and having the re-render happen like that, why not have a different, like within the render function, have a totally different view that gets toggled on and off based on the value of the price filter, which would also be saved in state. Okay, cool. So everybody likes that. Also, I will say this, just in case this wasn't clear from before, so that I'm safe for farther ahead. Here it is. So the user experience that I want to happen is that someone would then, once they picked free or paid, would then be able, within that, either with that free or paid, be able to pick a category, and the category would still show, basically everything would be filtered, let's say to paid, then filtered further by category, and then be able to be filtered further by these tabs, and then even further by the search. So if that changes anything, let me know. But that's the functionality. I want each filter to kind of stack on the other one. So it's not going to take away whatever it's not like it's going to start from a blank slate of like all the data again. all those filters are going to add up. Kind of like how Amazon does, where you can check, at least on the mobile app, like you can check off. They have a drop down on the side, and you could say I want everything to be like Prime eligible, and I only want to see things that are 4 stars and up, and I want those like both to be in effect, both of those filters at the same time. So, okay, good. So Patrick says that's even more reason to save filters in state and display based on them. Awesome. Great. So that's good. So now's a great time to give my usual disclaimer for this show. I don't claim to be an expert in anything that I'm doing. I am employed as a full-time front-end developer at a university. This show is not me saying I know everything, listen to me. This show is me just saying, hey, this is my normal workflow, and I'm open to any suggestions that you have. I learn a lot on this show from you all, and hopefully some of you at least learned something from me, or at least from the other people in the live chat. So I just always feel the need to give that disclaimer at certain times, especially like this, whenever we're kind of I'm changing the plan on the fly here based on your feedback. So I don't want to mislead anybody to think that that I somehow am saying that I know all this, because I don't. I'm still learning this. All right, so what we need to do then is you probably initialize in state what we want, and we'll have defaults. So this is going to be price. The default should probably be paid. I mean, it depends. Like from a user standpoint, they probably want to see the free stuff, but from a business standpoint, it probably makes more sense to have the paid stuff show up first. So don't hate me for that, but I just think that makes more sense. So we want the default to be paid, right? Bill says I need a graphic to throw up on the screen with your disclaimer. Yeah, that's true. I should do that. I don't even know how to do that. I know there are ways to put up graphics, but I have no idea how you do that in a live YouTube video. I'm gonna have to take like a course or watch some videos on how to live stream, because I just started doing this one day. Like literally, I had the idea one day, and then the very next day, I just started doing it. So I didn't really take time to figure it out. And some of my really early videos, you can tell I didn't take time to figure it out because the quality's terrible. But all right, so what are we gonna have? We're gonna have a category, right? So the category is gonna start out as all. So I'll make sure I have an all category. Potentially, we might at some point maybe think about having a featured category, so you could show people. Actually, that's a good idea. Let me show you what's going on now. Right now, I have this section that's featured resources, but maybe I could get rid of it. I'm not going to make the decision right now, I don't think, but potentially I could get rid of this section, because I wasn't really sure how I was going to change this based on how I changed this UI anyway. So I could just save the thought about that. It could simplify everything a lot, make that whole component a lot smaller in terms of lines of code and JSX. The default category could be featured. I'll think about that. For right now, I'm going to leave it as all. We don't have any categories anyway right now, so those all need to be input, and I don't really think it's the best use of my time to go in and input those categories, so I'm just going to have to let the people in charge of the content know about the categories. I'll have to enable it in WordPress because I disabled categories for that post type. I'll have to enable that and then let them know, and then hopefully they'll add everything in, and we'll start to get some good data to be able to test out our category drop down. So I think is that all we'll have? Now maybe we might want to switch over how we do these. I'd hate to do this. I mean, we have this working already. Should we switch these to basically do the same, use like the same system? We won't have to worry about the masonry component and getting that to work anymore because it's going to be different. I'm just going to go in. I'm going to add a category now, or I'm going to add something into the state object for it. Let's say type. So it's going to be resource type, and this is also going to be all by default. And then for search, is there any reason to do the search differently than we have been? Yeah, actually we will need to. There's really a good benefit to doing this in that I have to say out loud what I'm planning to do, and in this case I just caught what seems like a big issue that I hadn't thought of before. So right now the search works by sending requests to WordPress and getting an entirely new set of data from WordPress through the API every time something is typed. So that actually sent a request to WordPress, and we got it back. So it works great. It's really fast. I mean, yeah, I'd rather cut down on the requests, but this is how it works right now. But what I was describing a minute ago is I wanted the user to be able to filter and then search, but have all these filters still applied. So basically, I guess I'm trying to think of a way that I could avoid making another API call and then simply just search the data, but I guess this doesn't change anything. We'll still search. The search will still show us data. It will send back data, but then that data will be passed through all these filters and show up here. So I don't see any way around that. The reason being, I don't think it's possible for me to grab all of the data at first, because there's going to be a lot of resources at some point. At least that's the vision of the people in charge of this. They're expecting to have hundreds and hundreds of resources. The WordPress API limits you to getting 100 posts at a time. So I can't in one API call get everything anyway. So anyway, having said all that, if you have any ideas, let me know. I'll check the live chat now in case someone's been anyone's commented on that. I'm not going to attempt to tackle this entire problem right now. We've already been streaming for an hour or so, and this doesn't have the question about the search thing does not have to be answered yet to make this work. So for now, I'm just going to focus on this, but I just wanted to share my thought process with you all to see if anyone had any ideas on that. Oh, actually, Brandon has a good point in the live chat. I have a toggle right now for free or paid, but what if they want both? That's a great point. And I could definitely see, a user might want both. They might not care whether or not it's free or paid. They just want to find the resources they want. And it would actually be a pain for them to have to click back and forth. So maybe it shouldn't be a toggle. Maybe it should be maybe another drop down. I'd hate to do another drop. I just don't like to have a ton of drop downs, but that might be the only way. Let me know if you think of a different way. Um, the options would then be free, paid, or all, I guess. Or it could potentially be check boxes that say free or paid, and if none of them are checked, then it's all by default. That might be a better option if it's just two check boxes for free or paid. And I guess it could be if they're both checked, then you get both, and if none of them are checked, then you still get both. That might be a little confusing, but I don't see any other way to do it because the resource is either going to be free or paid. All right, let me know what you think. Okay, cool. Someone else said check boxes. So, Weighty Bayfern fan 31 says check boxes. So great. Okay, Rohan says he leans drop down with checkbox style. Okay. Tarek asks about throttling while sending requests for search. Actually, I didn't do it yet. I had talked. I assume you're. I had talked earlier when I set it up about limiting the number of searches. So, like, a certain number of milliseconds would have to pass before you're allowed to send another API request. I don't think I actually. I don't think I put that in. So, no, I haven't done it yet. But I intend to do that. I think I put it in my Trello board. If not, I'm gonna have to check and put it in there. Uh, Manton asks about caching. There is some caching going on right now. I'm gonna also set up some caching on the WordPress side. Basically, I just have to click a button to enable it right now, but it's already set up. It's just through a plugin. Bill asks, can you apply a filter to achieve all posts regardless of 100 limit? Oh, cool. It looks like there's Stack Overflow. I'm going to copy this now and check that out as well. I had read some stuff about trying to get rid of the limit. So I think I read this one. I'll check it out too, but I think the answer was like you'd have to build your own custom like endpoint or something because there's not like a default way to do it. So, but I'll check it out. Oh, good. Okay. Bill also says, how about some sort of pagination with the posts? Yeah. Ibuka says that's how these single page applications like to work. Get all the data, then filter and sort locally. Yeah, I would love to be able to filter and sort locally. The problem for me is just right now I can get all the data, but in the future there may be so much data that that's not going to be a good idea to get all the data. Rohan asks, doesn't WordPress do some caching by default? Actually, it might. I'm not sure if it caches by default. The caching that I am going to enable at some point once I get all my post types settled is every time an API call is made, instead of like normally it would go to the database, it's a SQL database, and then it would put together that data and send it out. Instead, what would happen is that would be saved in the cache. So you make an API call, and then it doesn't have to hit the database again. So I just explained basic caching. Sorry for everyone who already knew that. But let's see. Yeah, and Bill says I wouldn't rely on it because the plugins creator will fix in the future by sanitizing input. Um, yeah. Okay, Rohan says displaying hundreds of posts might be a bit overwhelming. It just puts a network strain. Okay. All right, cool. Brandon says, what if we just, we only do an API call on the search text box and then filter those results? That's what I was thinking. Yeah, Bill recommends using Redux. I kind of wish that I had set it up like that, but you're right. At this point, he also says it require a rewrite of how state is managed at this point. Yeah, so at this point, I just don't have. I don't know if I gave you all the update. Maybe I did. I think I have until like the 19th. So I have to get as much as I possibly can done on this site from what's in my Trello board by the 19th. And then I have to move on to another project. So I'm taking the Udacity React Developer course right now. So I'm going to be learning about how to use Redux. I think it's Redux. I can't remember which one, but basically one of the things that does what Redux does. So I know there's like Redux and MobX, and so one of those things I'm going to be learning about, but I'm not going to learn about it in enough time to implement it on this project. So that's unfortunate. I think it would have been better. Okay, Tarek says use the view more button instead of pagination. Yeah, that would be good. I was thinking maybe like view more button here, and then it just kind of like I could either do a view more or I could do infinite scroll. What's your opinion on this? I could have it so that once I get near the bottom of the page, it just automatically loads more, which may actually like it might require another API call to be honest, but we could see how I do it. Or it could actually have a button that users have to click. Oh, cool. Jacob says that he's taking that course as well. Awesome. And they are teaching MobX and Redux. Good. That's really cool. I like that they're going to do both of them. All right. So enough thinking. It's really important to think these things through to avoid wasted work and stuff. But um, I want to do something. I actually want to get a little bit of this working, and then that way, if anybody really like wanted to watch this because they were interested in the topic and want to learn how to do this, I at least want to do it. I want to at least do a filter. I might not get to a sort today, but I at least want to do one filter and get it working. Obviously, there's going to be some changes made to it, and you can all follow along, on GitHub with the changes and see the finished product at some point.